Welterweight title. You're rated first. Sean Porter's rated second. Is it a fight you want? And when do you think it would happen?
I'm ready right now. I'm ready to bring that title back to Philly. Sean Porter, I'm ready, baby. Send the contract. Let's get it on. I'm ready to bring that title back to Philly. I done had my title for a year, and it's missing my waist.
Tell us how you envision a fight like that going.
You know, Sean Porter's a good competitive fighter. He's strong. He comes forward. But he likes to fight. I like to fight. So I think it's going to be one of them classic fights. But you never know. If he opens up, it might be over early.
Work too? You want some work too? In my backyard. You in my backyard. Vegas is my backyard. You think it's your backyard? Amir Khan, Lucas Matisse. You think it's your backyard? You from Ohio, boy? You're not from Vegas? We're trying to make some money. We're trying to do it for everybody.
Hold on. Sean Porter was on a rampage that night. I was asleep. Let's just say I was asleep. I didn't get to see the fight. Long story short, before I didn't really understand I understood what Sean Porter was trying to do, but I didn't really agree with him willing to take the layoff or willing to not fight nobody else until he got a title shot. For example, while I pull something up for you, I want you to listen to how he's grilling Keith Thurman. I was hospitalized at the time. I had plans on, I was in a coma. I had plans on getting to the fight, and I would have loved to have been there for Sean Porter and Keith Thurman's roundtable discussion, which took place before the actual event started. So you had Danny Garcia versus Brandon Rios that took place in Vegas. Before the event, Sean Porter and Keith Thurman had a sit-down talk where they went over everything in depth. And then Sean Porter confronts Danny Garcia at the end of the night in the ring. So while I pull this up for you, I want you to listen to this.
Tell you something. I'll give you all a little prediction of the future because only I know my real future, right? I'll give you a little prediction. You are a potential opponent for later this year. You are. So do a little bit more prayer, dog. Do a little bit more prayer. You might get it. You know what I'm saying? A little bit more prayer. You never know.
Where you going to go?
You never know.
Where you going to go?
Now, this was on February the 17th. Right now, it's June 19th, 2018, 7:56 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this was when Keith Thurman was trying to find out who his challenger was going to be. Many thought it was going to be Jesse Vargas. So then Keith Thurman got injured again, as you can see, where, a few months later on, and we have Danny Garcia and Sean Porter who have come to terms to fight for the title that Keith Thurman had to vacate, that WBC title. It's being said that it's going to be at the very end of August, which would be August the 25th, or the beginning of September. Something, like that. I think it would be like September the 1st or, something like that. But anyway, it really puts the winner in a good position, but also it really takes one of them out of the 147-pound equation in a sense of, okay, you're really not in the mix, because a lot would expect the winner to go on to either fight Keith Thurman, right? When he returns, obviously he has to have a tune-up fight back because he's been off for now a year and a half. So by the time he get back into the ring, maybe August, September, it's going to be a top 15 challenger, somewhat of a known name, but a fight for him to get the rust off. So you got to think that the winner of Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter would be what would go on to fight Keith Thurman, because the timelines kind of even up, right? Keith Thurman would have his comeback fight if he wins. The winner of Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter could meet sometime in March or April of 2019. Then you factor in, how does Errol Spence, play in, because he wants a piece of one of those guys too. And I'm pretty sure the winner, or it seems as though the winner of a Sean Porter Danny Garcia would rather much fight a Keith Thurman than a Errol Spence. After all, they had the chance, because if before this confrontation on that night and before we had news that this fight was going to happen, media was getting on Sean Porter back, including myself, on like, okay, well, why are you not fighting Errol Spence? Let me finish playing this. I'll be back.
What you gonna do?
I'm gonna do what I always do.
Let's be.
We're
Hey,
gonna-
hold
we're
up
gonna
though.
look
Let's
at
be
the
real right
options.
quick. Let's be real right quick.
As real
It's
as you
like-
want. As real
it's
as you
like
want.
20 to 30 cameras right now.
As real as you
And
want.
All they want to know
They do.
is who and when. That's all. Everybody standing here right now want to know. Include myself.
Definitely
who
you.
and when.
Okay.
Who
yeah.
and when.
Okay.
You can't answer that.
Sure enough, can't.
You can't answer that.
Sure enough,
Then you're not a real champion right now.
There's
you're not
no,
being
there's
a real
no
champion.
opponent. There's no opponent.
It's an opponent as soon as you say who.
As soon as I say who.
Yeah.
As soon as I say who.
Yeah. Instead of toting around your belt,
Look,
saying,
first off,
I'm champion.
First off,
talk to me. Don't talk to them. Talk to me.
Okay, Pimp, this is easy work. Easy work. You know I love you,
What's
bro.
going
you know I love you,
on?
son. Look. Injury, dog. Injury.
I'm sure you're probably seen this already. This is old, but you got to think that Keith Thurman's got this big ass fucking X on his back. And I am going to update my rankings this week, so relax. Everybody wants a piece of Keith Thurman. Move this down here. So, I mean, let's look at the division and break it down real quick and simple as I can. All right? You have Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter, who's going to be fighting. As I said, the way things are lining up, Danny Garcia and Sean Porter fight is going to take place around a month or so based around Keith Thurman's return. So, therefore, they'll be on the same timeline, right? Then, depending on how you look at it, you have this wild card here with Manny Pacquiao and Lucas Matisse, but we're just going to not even count that in the mix. You got Errol Spence, who just defeated Carlos Ocampo. This guy likely will be his next mandatory, but we don't have to worry about him for a year. I'm pretty sure Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, as we talked about earlier, would rather fight Keith Thurman than Errol Spence. And then you have Terrence Crawford, who's over there with Top Rank, and Bob Arum. If I'm correct, I read somewhere that Bob Arum saying that a fight like Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence can't happen unless it's on pay-per-view. Also, it has to be a lot of money involved for both Showtime and ESPN to come together to make the fight. You see what I'm saying? So Danny Garcia versus Sean Porter is going to answer a lot of things, and I'm really interested to see what the pace of the fight is going to be, because against other fighters, guys like Sean Porter, Andre Berto, or Keith Thurman, it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches fighting another 147-pounder with power. Andre Berto, he just went straight through him. But Danny Garcia has shown that his power must be respected, In my personal opinion, the activity can beat Danny Garcia. But I think that if Danny Garcia power has really carried up to 147, it's going to really, really show against Sean Porter, because Sean Porter is going to be right there to hit, right? And Sean Porter is also known to smother his punches. So therefore, Danny Garcia is going to have to show Sean Porter, hey, listen, you're not going to be doing that bullying shit with me, But I hope that I hope that the stars align in regards to these 147-pound fighters right now, and Keith Thurman is seeing it the most, is that they have no choice right now but to fight each other. Those days of milking themselves and building themselves up, it's gone. The networks you're going to fight for, and, they want you to fight each other. These guys like Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Adrian Broner, Jesse Vargas now, and Keith Thurman, all these guys, they're seasoned 147-pound fighters now. These are not just some, up-and-coming prospects. These are former world champions. You got to start taking the big fights. And I believe Kenny Porter did allude to the fact that, they'll fight Errol Spence one day, but when they're unifying and the fight actually has to happen. I would like to see that fight, though. We know that Sean Porter has a chin. But now, these guys between, if you count the real top guys at 147, the guys in this fight, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Terrence Crawford, and depending on how you look at it with Manny Pacquiao, that division is crazy. And they got to fight each other. Anyway, I'm TstreeT Controversy. This is TstreeT Controversy Live. I cover every single major fight live. Please subscribe.